Hello everyone, and thank you for tuning in to my first year on T. I am Ollie, if you didn't know. I've made some videos in the past. Today, the questions that we're answering are kind of about how we knew we were trans and what was our gender journey. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that for me. So I've always been, when I grew up, I was always kind of a tomboy. When I look back on pictures of me now, I'll see if I can put some in. I see myself and I'm like, oh wow, I was so gay. But I didn't really have any conceptions of my own gender until I was in middle school, and I started realizing that the people around me were expressing femininity in a way that I didn't understand, and it made me really depressed. I was really depressed in middle school, and I kind of knew that I was gay and no one was gay around me, and it was something that was really hard for me. But in 7th grade, someone that I knew came out as a trans man, and I kind of thought that I was also a trans man. Because this person that I knew came out, I was like, wow, this is now an option for me. And I actually, at that point, I really wanted to be a writer, so I wrote this story that was basically a self-insert thing about a trans guy. And so I kind of knew that I was trans in 7th grade, but because I was in an environment that really didn't like trans people, and I saw that this trans person that I knew that was being really discriminated against and made fun of by her classmates, I definitely repressed the trans identity that I felt. And I really didn't talk about it until I started considering my sexuality in high school. So I went through this long period of 5 years of repression. And so when I got into high school, I pretty much knew, in the back of my mind, knew that I was trans, knew that I was gay, but didn't really want to think about it, and started to dress femininely again until my sophomore year, where I made some friends who also identified as gay at the time, and I started to express my sexuality in ways that felt more comfortable for me, and I also started dressing a lot more masculine. I cut my hair short, I started wearing men's clothes, and people started labeling me as butch. And I still really like that label for me. I still identify as butch, but people also identified me as a butch lesbian, and I've never identified as a lesbian. So I really did not like that. And so it was also in my high school time that I met my first non-binary person. I knew I knew a few, but one main non-binary person in my high school experience. And so when I met them, I kind of realized that transness, like gender in itself, is not binary. And just because I thought that I was a trans man in 7th grade doesn't mean that that's the only option for me. So I started thinking a lot about my gender after I came out as gay in my sophomore year of high school. So in my junior year, I started experimenting with binding. I started experimenting with different pronouns in my own head, thinking about what it would mean for me to be trans. And I came out to a small group of my friends after I graduated high school. So the summer between my senior year of high school and my freshman year. And when I started college my freshman year, I started only using they, them pronouns. And I was pretty much out as non-binary, but I didn't start identifying as transmasculine until I started needing medical interventions in my own life and in my own transition, because I'm very non-binary, but it's hard to access the transition that I want without identifying on the transmasculine spectrum. So yeah, that's kind of the quick rundown of how I knew. I think that it's kind of hard to know, but it's a process of trying to figure out who you are, and I think that a lot of it is just trying stuff out and seeing what makes you comfortable. One of the other questions that was that we were asked was, did we seek therapy? And I think this is a great question, because I've been in therapy for a really long time. I've actually been in therapy for 5 years. But I originally didn't seek therapy because of gender. I originally sought therapy because of my depression and anxiety. But because I was already in therapy when I started going through issues with my sexuality and my gender, it actually made it a lot easier, because someone that I could talk to that would understand where I was coming from and could validate some of the feelings that I had. And I've continued to be in therapy throughout my transition, which has made like a lot of things easier. Like it's made getting on T easier because I had someone that could write my letter. I had getting top surgery easier because I had someone that could verify that I had dysphoria on my chest. And yeah, also transition is like emotionally taxing, and it's been really nice to have someone to talk to. So if you're struggling with trying to figure out your gender, definitely just try some stuff out. I would recommend therapy. I think therapy is great, even for people who aren't trans, even if for people that don't have mental illness issues. It's great to be able to talk to someone about what's going on in your life. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching my first year on T. I'll try to make another video soon. I hope you have a good rest of your week.